The V-taper is the ultimate sign of a bodybuilder. It's developed through sweeping wide lats that tie into broad shoulders. The back, being such a large body part, it's made up of many different muscles, and generally, it requires many more exercises to fully develop compared to some other smaller muscle groups. Although not the most complete way, but most simple way to break this down is into two movement patterns: vertical pulling exercises, such as pull-ups or pull-downs, and vertical rowing exercises, such as barbell or seated rows. To fully develop the thickness or the density of the back, the focus should be on horizontal rowing movements. And if you want to develop the width of the back, you want to make sure to incorporate vertical pulling movements into your routine. And today is all about width. I personally break up my back training into two workouts and prioritize one of these focuses each workout. To start off today's session, we jump right into bodyweight pull-ups for 3 sets of as many reps as possible. These are done first in the session, as it cuts down on session time by having the actual working sets of my body weight also serving as a warm-up. Because there's no loading required for this movement, I hit as many reps as possible over those 3 sets, and I slowly aim to increase the total reps over each week. Similar to a staple in Arnold's training, his goal was to aim for 50 total reps, using as many sets as possible to get there. Personally, with my strength level and total workout volume, it makes the most sense for me to control my total number of sets and aim to accumulate as many reps as possible over those sets, with the goal of increasing volume over time. Doing these with a wider grip and pulling all the way up to the clavicle and returning all the way to a dead hang. This technique allows me to get that full stretch at the bottom, mentally engaging the lats and squeezing those lats fully at the top. As you will notice from most of my other videos, I emphasize mind-muscle connection a lot in my training. And the additional benefit of this range of motion, coming from a dead hang at the bottom, is the extra work that's placed on the teres major and the upper back, targeting more parts of the back without having to do additional exercises. That's always an additional benefit in training. And with all my back movements, you will see straps being used. This is not a crutch, but rather a tool to get more out of back training. I can do an equal amount of pull-ups without straps, but mentally, my focus would be on gripping and holding onto the bar, rather than focusing on driving my elbows down and into my torso, which ultimately is the goal when focusing on the lats. Back development is all about elbow path, and if you're on the fence about using straps, ask yourself when you're in the gym, do you care more about the development of the target muscle group or your grip strength? If grip strength is your answer, I still wouldn't use pulling movements as my main exercise to develop it. I'd train grip strength directly on its own. So either way, in any argument, you're still not maximizing your grip training by training without straps. And if you're training without straps, you're also not maximizing your back training either. So put those straps on and get more out of every back movement. And after warming up the back with pull-ups, the lats are pumped with blood and primed to get more work done. Moving on to a more lat-specific vertical pull, I jump into the underhand lat pull down. I do these here for another 3 sets, this time for 10 to 15 repetitions. This movement pattern is very similar to the pull-up, but turning the hand in allows me to turn those elbows into the body and to the front. And remember, back training is all about elbow path. By using a pull-down machine versus a chin-up here, I have more control over angles and the range of motion. I can target the lats more specifically here by leaning back just a little and pulling those elbows all the way down until that bar hits the sternum. Just sit in a chair and pull those elbows down as hard as possible, and you can feel those lats completely flex right now. Every rep on pull-downs, I'm mimicking that exact same motion, but with resistance in my hands. And if done properly, you might even feel those lats cramp. This is the difference between lifting a weight from point A to point B versus contracting the lats under load and pulling with the elbows. This is something that many people with underdeveloped body parts miss out on, as they're just focusing on throwing more weight on the bar with the goal of progressive overload. You have to always remember that once other muscle groups start doing the work, even if you increase the load on the bar, the target muscle might actually be doing less work. That's why I always say, mind-muscle connection first, load on the bar second. After performing 2 vertical pulling movements, this lat-specific workout day, I also throw in 1 horizontal rowing movement, which might sound like a contradiction here, as rowing movements are primarily for back thickness. But again, back training comes down to elbow path, and there are many ways to make a rowing movement more lat-specific or more upper back specific, depending on how they're performed. If you want to target the upper back on a row, the elbows should be placed outside of the body, and the hand should pull towards the chest. Think about a barbell bench press with the elbows flared out. An upper back row should be the exact same movement as that bar travels back down towards the body. But if we want to make it lat specific, we tuck those elbows in towards the body and pull the bar much lower towards the belly button. And the dumbbell row is a great movement to do this on. By keeping that elbow in and pulling the dumbbell very low on the torso, I'm again stretching that lat at the bottom and contracting it extremely hard when I pull that elbow all the way back. This is a movement that many people butcher and get mostly rear delt and some trap work out of it. But slowing the movement down and focusing on the specific range of motion and elbow path you want, you can make this movement target virtually any area of the back. And it can be placed on either a back thickness day or a back width day, depending on your goal and how you perform this exercise and what specific technique you use. If I was trying to get more upper back development out of this movement, my elbows would be flared out and I'd be pulling much higher towards the chest. I perform the dumbbell row here for 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions. I personally like higher reps on movements where I need to stabilize my body, as I'm fairly strong in proportion to my body weight. If I went with low reps here and I pulled with 120 to 130 pound dumbbells, the amount of energy I would need to stabilize my torso would take away energy from working the target muscle. By lowering the weight and doing more reps here, I can easily stabilize my body weight with little effort and focus my energy and mental focus on things that matter. In this case, pulling with my lats. At this point in the session, my lats are fried. They're pumped with blood, and we're gonna finish them off with one stretching movement. Most of the exercises performed so far focused on the contraction of the muscle. This one will finish off with the stretch. By performing pullovers with the dumbbells, the resistance profile favors the bottom position, where the arms are pulled all the way back, and the tension on the lats is at the highest point here, due to gravity. At the same time, at the top of the movement, the amount of force on the lats is much less. So the real benefits come from the weighted stretch at the bottom on this movement. That's why it's key when performing any movement, but pullovers specifically, to take that muscle through a full range of motion with a full stretch and a full contraction. These are done for 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions, and I perform pullovers multiple times per week. And I also recommend a cable or machine pullover if you have access to one, as you can take advantage of both the stretch component of free weight pullovers and the contraction of the lats that machines and cables have to offer. This is one exercise that I see performed much less commonly today, but it was a staple for all old school bodybuilders. It not only develops the lats, but it also develops the serratus muscles outside the rib cage and can be seen from a front double bicep. These are the finger-like muscles that show also in a vacuum pose. They were very impressive on Frank Zane, and I personally think due to the vacuum pose not being common in bodybuilding today, due to most pro bodybuilders having blocky waists, the serratus muscles have become a muscle group that almost no one thinks of developing, pro bodybuilders included. And I'm willing to bet even half of the people who watch this have no idea what these muscles are. But if you want to develop them, there's nothing better than, in my opinion, the dumbbell pullover to target them. But if you're looking to develop your entire physique and want to know the exact program I recommend to build mass using old school bodybuilding training methods, I highly recommend you check out my 5-day old school mass gain training program in the description below. And as always, if you want to see more of the best original bodybuilding content just like this, make sure to hit subscribe.